One thing I've been thinking about are the mentions of different aspects of hell, be it from the church, Greek myth or Dante's Inferno. How could that work exactly? Were the demons from hell in the past ever what people believe them to be? Or was it all some version of the court, playing to various faiths to harvest their goetic magic? Or were some real and they are still around, or did their times pass? How could these different demonic dynasties, let's say, have influenced things on earth? That's the idea we explore today, so welcome back to the trenches, and let's begin. So what if other faiths mentioned had their moments ruling hell, and as their faith fell, let's say out of favour, then the earlier rulers could no longer draw on their followers for their version of goetic magic. Then hell moved on and new rulers rose, perhaps fighting and removing elements of the prior regime, or pushing them away to the far borders of hell. So prior to the court, you might have had to say, confront the Titans in Tartarus and those other parts of Greek myth, and then maybe the new gods tear down the old as their powers rise, and so does belief in them on earth. How would people on earth know about these events? Would they not be internal to hell? Because some demons can sneak across where the walls are thin, where the ley lines meet, and start up myths, legends and beliefs around them. Perhaps even some come across on purpose to influence humanity and gain power from them, like the court and their goetic magic. More on that communication between hell and earth later in the video. I've got a few ideas on that. To come back on point, as with the fall of any empire, the old things remain. Take the rivers of hell in Greek myth. Those 5 great rivers still exist, except now other things have been built on top. For example, weapons related to the rivers of hell are mentioned in the trench lore, and so industry might have built up around them so the weapons can be made and blessed with their water in a convenient way before they are shipped off to those who would be using them and the Great War on Earth. So I'm saying I overthought it, and the previous demonic dynasties could just be events that have happened in the past, leaving their mark on the land and their knowledge in the world, and then things have moved forward. It's like our world, where it carries a mark of people like Alexander the Great or the Roman Empire. But if that's the case, what about the 2 current main faiths within Trench Crusade, that of the Church and that of the Iron Sultanate? Are there enough similarities in terms of who is mentioned in the faiths? I think there are. I'm not super expert on either, but there's mentions of a lot of people in both, as far as my understanding goes. So I think within the trench lore, that can support both faiths, i.e. God and hell reflect both elements of both faiths. So how would power, like the hunters of the left-handed path, hunters in hell before the angels fell, and the Church of Metamorphosis, who worship a doorway to another place, I think they can fit into this by being around before the other powers rose up. The hunters worship ancient things, legends. That could be something from very early earth beliefs, maybe even before creation. And as for the Church, that again has that ancient beings feeling to them, something cosmic and Lovecraftian maybe. So they could be the remains of those powers. Perhaps they were once greater than they are in hell, and others rose to replace them over time. There is also another possibility. Within the Yoke Fiend lore, we have the line, throughout the endless plains of hell. Key word being endless. So my idea with that is, what if many pantheons of beings exist at the same time within hell, and all have their own little mini empires? So in this train of thought, some can exist at the same time, and going on how important goetic magic is to the court, maybe these others had an equivalent or the same, and so when they can't take human followers any longer, that's when they fade. So generations move on and find new beings to follow, and so it's that recruitment and that push to the followers on earth that is the trigger of the rise and fall of the demons' powers. So this would explain why some have currently come to power and others fade without the might they had at their height. When they face other demonic empires, they would not have the resources of magic to call upon to resist, and when they're eliminated, no one can draw on that power from earth, and so they fade into legend. And of course, during this discussion, I've been talking about the court managing its magical resources and drawing as much goetic magic as it can, but it's not the court, is it? It's something deeper. The court is made up of 7 sub-factions, so for that cup of energy and suffering each faction within the war, you could wonder what would happen if one of those factions has such success they wipe out another sin's main leaders and forces. Would they come over to them? Just an idea. Now to explore that communication mention I gave earlier deeper, how could the demons have been directly communicating outside with the random demons slipping across? The first thing that came to mind for me was a pivotal thing within the law, the device the Templars found that spoke to them. In real-world history, this was supposedly the demon Baphomet, who the Templars were pledging themselves to. In Trench Crusade, this means within the grasp of the church, in the vaults perhaps under Jerusalem, was an ancient demonic artifact, a communicator, if you will, with the forces of hell. And it was able to speak with and tempt the Templars, so it must have reached Earth somehow, and have been placed in the vaults, maybe by the church itself. Could these types of devices, lesser power ones maybe, be all around on Earth, and have been the source of demonic influence in humanity? And more importantly for this idea, have communicated with people what was in hell, and convinced different people at different points in time to have worshipped different demons as they rose and fell. Communicators that essentially influenced the law of many faiths. We know the Church of Metamorphosis have a communication device, a portable doorway they're brought to Earth that they can use to communicate with the actual doorway in hell to speak to the entity. So that speaks of some, I'm just going to do a bit technology or magic, or that type that maybe is reflected in the artifact the Templars found, and further ones around the globe. We see the artillery witches, for example, reaching through portals to draw bombs from hell. What about something small like that, going the other way, dropping off these devices that people pick up and are influenced by? Another idea was, what if the Hellmouth of the North was around before the Hellmouth in Jerusalem? It's small and infrequent, and could have been a direct line for some limited demons to come across. So now I turn things over to you. What do you think to these ideas? Do you have your own? What demonic creatures from legend would you like to see explored with the law? Would you like to have a game set within hell itself? I'm pretty sure I would, but that's probably way down the line. On the demonic beasts front, you could have creatures from Greek myth, like Cerberus, the many-headed dog. Or if we go to a crazy scale, the Titans, who, if I recall, were locked up in Tartarus, i.e. a dimension of hell, as a prison. Could one still be there, part of a narrative event, an awakened beast that could be lured to the side of one of the current factions within the court? Let me know what you think, and if you like this video on the Trench Crusade, then why not try this one? And if you want a whole bunch of videos of Trench Crusade, then why not try the playlist on the channel? I also cover 40k, usually around one per week, and have two playlists for 40k, one focusing on the dark age of technology with its mad weapons and abominable intelligences, and one looking at everything. So check them out if you'd like to.